as soon as it pops up live.
Awesome. You gonna share it on Facebook?
Yes, yeah, I do. And you are more than welcome to and share it anywhere that you know that people follow you. So I'll just stick it in the chat. There it is for you. And there we have it.
Tag to you. Oh yeah, I've just seen
Cool.
that. I will copy that.
Yep, and you can even share if you want to from there. It's totally up to you.
That's the easiest, yeah.
Yeah, makes it easy. Nice and easy. Head over there. Oh, Savvy is here. Hi, Savvy. So we'll have probably a mix today of some photography people, some other artists who like to follow the show. Savvy is an amazing author. So glad to have you here, Savvy. We'll wait a couple minutes. Guys, if you're here and you're watching, let me know you're here. Say hi. And we will get ready to get this show started. So if you're all good, Tina, give me a thumbs up.
I'm good.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start with introductions. Welcome back to the Social Hour, everybody. For everybody who joined us yesterday, I'm so glad you guys were here yesterday and you have come back today for today's amazing guest, who is an editorial and commercial fashion and beauty photographer based in London, England, who has worked with international brands like Sephora, Factor and Barbour, and is a speaker and educator for brands like Canon, Capture One, and Profoto. She's also a traditional artist who creates incredibly charming designs for home decor with watercolor. She's basically a Renaissance lady and a lovely human, and I'm super excited to welcome her to the Social Hour today. Please join me in welcoming the lovely Miss Tina Eisen. Tina, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I think I need you to follow me around every day. That was an amazing intro.
Oh, well, I love because I feel like I want all of the people who are hanging out to know how rad my guests are. Like, I have the coolest people on this show, so I have to make sure that everybody knows how cool they are. So yes. Savvy says, oh, thanks, girl. Yes, I'm making videos again. It's been kind of interviewing creatives and stuff, and I would love to have you on at some point, so hit me up. So while we wait for some other people to get here, let's get this out of the way, like the kind of early stuff. How have you been dealing with work and COVID?
I mean, all my traditional work, so to say, was completely put on hold. So as everyone knows, the beauty industry was hit the hardest and longest, especially in the UK, because makeup not allowed back for like over a month after everyone else. So we were only allowed to roll it out again from, I think it was the 15th of August or something. So I was kind of sitting at home. The first week was, oh yeah, this is cool. I've got so much time to catch up on retouching like I always wanted to. And then after a week, I was just staring, counting tiles, and I was becoming increasingly desperate to create and express myself, like probably most of us are, because we, that's how we communicate. We want to create art and put it out there, and we couldn't do that very thing. So I feel like it was starting to grind my happiness and mental health a little bit. And then I started finding other things. So that's why I picked up drawing again. I used to do that a few years ago, and now I started myself a little page and put it out there. And I started doing macro lip selfies, so I could actually
do
beauty photography,
which were so lovely. I was like, dang, girl.
Thank you so much. It was, I just had to turn into a one-man band, like from one day to the next, and do my own makeup, model it, take the picture, do the retouching, and but it was, I found a niche to keep creating. Oh, hello.
Ew, look at that. So beautiful.
Right there.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the kind of stuff, like the drawing is an example as well. So I just try to cling on to anything I could do, really.
Right. And were you using, at the time when you were doing the drawings, these were from some of your photographs, right?
That was it, yeah. So these, I got myself an iPad, and this is a digital drawing of one of my Now I just do it with actual watercolor and like physical as well, transition.
Right.
Yeah,
Do
but
you
you can really,
prefer the paper to the iPad?
I do. Just the whole feeling is just so much better. The way color and water behaves, you just can't recreate it on an iPad. You can,
Right. And then you actually were able to you booked work with your lip
yeah,
selfies, didn't you?
I did. So I had a campaign in the US. Funny enough, they I got contacted by a company. They needed lip shots of their product. We couldn't actually get their product to me quick enough, so I had to here find something that was close enough, and it was for lip gloss. And just yeah, that was quite cool. I feel like that was sort of like that summed up lockdown for me, to just make do with what you have and
Yes.
just keep going with it. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yes. I
Um,
love that artists will find a way. Like
Definitely.
will
That's
find a way to make art. And then you also started, let me grab it on here as well.
oh yeah.
There we go. And so you started with those and then ended up with all of these really, like the chonky boys are my favorite.
Of course they are
These
my
are my
favorite.
favorite. But so you started with things that were kind of similar to the work you were doing and then transitioned into this kind of home decor thing. How did that happen?
I don't actually really know, because yeah, like that picture you showed earlier, it was sort of, I was illustrating from my work. Then
Right.
I started, I think with the rainbow that you have up now, I think from the rainbow, it kind of started where I was like, no, you know what? I just like it quite simple. I don't need to overcomplicate this stuff. I would like to put a rainbow on a shopping bag, and that's what I'm going to do. And then, yeah, I kind of like went away from all the fashion and beauty, and just then I started doing typography and, just simple, like a cocktail. Well, that was my
Right.
missed cocktail that I messed up.
Oh,
um,
I love them. It's so fun. And I love the fact that during this time we've seen so many people we have only ever been exposed to as, photographers or writers or artists or whatever, expanding into these different areas. It's been really, really cool to see.
Definitely. I so agree. There's people out there. There's one that I can think of specifically, a girl called Chris Falk, and I'm just
Yes.
following her, and she is just banging out the most amazing watercolor. She bakes, she cooks. I'm just looking at this girl like, where is this all coming from?
I know
Like,
I want her to come make me things like
honestly,
breakfast. She shows all these breakfast foods and I'm like, but I want popovers.
I want this now. Yes, that's such a good example where you're so right. We only ever really see photography, and during lockdown, people were like, no, actually, I can do different things, and I'm going to show you.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
Yes.
So now are things starting to open up? And I've noticed that you've had some new beauty work coming up.
Yeah, so it started again. So I already have a global campaign under my belt again now, which we shot in August as soon as restrictions were lifted. So I've done that. I'm busy retouching over 70 pictures now that they've chosen. Yeah. And I immediately started doing tests, because now the restrictions are a little bit edgy again in the UK, and new announcements were made today. So I just try to get as many test shoots in as possible, because
Right.
we might lock down again. I'm just trying to be quite proactive with that now and just create, and yeah.
Yeah. So what have you guys been doing to keep things safe on set?
Makeup artists are probably the ones that are the most strict with the restrictions right now. So they have to work with a mask and with a visor, gloves, all sorts. So they basically look like, when ET got picked up, that sort of
Yep.
thing, full hazmat. So yeah, I always turn up with a mask, but if I can keep the distance because I'm behind the camera and they are on set, I have the freedom to take it off as well. So yeah, it's all super sanitized and really quite safe. And we try and keep the teams to a minimum as well. Whereas in the past, we had the luxury of like, oh, I have a couple of assistants and hair and styling. For example, I just come back from a test today in London, and that was minimal. It was one model, the makeup artist, and me. We didn't get even a hairstylist in. The makeup artist was just doing it herself. We're just trying to keep it manageable at the minute.
Right. So do you think that this is something that we can get used to over time and still maintain quality? Or you think that it's something that's going to kind of hit the beauty industry particularly hard?
I think I was thinking about that the other day. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of backlog right now, so we should be getting busy again now because brands need to shoot their stuff. If we want to ensure that teams are small, we have to expect that the numbers of items that can be shot in a day has to be down. Like I'm talking fashion particularly now. Like if that was 40 items in a day, fully styled outfits, that would have to go down. And
Right.
that should ultimately mean that we would require more days we would get booked for. So we could be lucky. Like once companies recover and have money available to spend again, I think if anything, we should then be booked more days because we have to take everything a little bit slower.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, for real. Because I know that there's so many people that's, you know, they lost all of their income. And then for us in the US, a lot of people weren't even able to get their unemployment going. So it was really a disaster over here. So getting kind of that part of it out of the way, let's back up a little bit. So you did not just pick up watercolor all of the sudden. You have been an artist, haven't you?
Not. I mean, I had 3 or 4 paintings about 5 years ago that were sold through a friend's shop, and I left it there. I never really touched it again. And then during lockdown was the first time that I picked it up again, but I've never really had an education in it. It was just that my mum was my kindergarten teacher, and she was really creative. She drew, she did these little illustrations of like kids' characters, and I think I must have picked it up from it. I would love to actually really enroll in a school and learn it from scratch because I'm just chancing it a little bit. I'm like, oh, that color is spreading too fast. I'll get some kitchen paper out quick. Like I don't really know every detail, and it's trial and error for me at the moment. And luckily, like I'm quite patient, and some of them look really, really nice. But there's pictures that I don't show because it didn't work the way I wanted.
I love that. That's actually a really good point that I think is another thing we don't talk about a whole lot is everybody only sees our artistic successes, right? They don't always see like all of the pictures we messed up and everything that didn't work and everything that got tossed out the window. So do you have a process for that? Like how do you decide what is good enough to show?
um, I don't. If I'm not feeling it, I won't. So usually, while I'm drawing, while I do, for example, the pencil sketch, I will already take behind the scenes pictures. And there was a few times where I messed up the image along the way with the watercolor, so I won't show the end result, but I will always show, making of, because I think that's quite interesting, to see the like sketching process of it. And then I've had a couple of times where I went, hey, yesterday's sketch went wrong, so I'm not going to show that. I'm going to try again today. But yeah, I still like take the behind the scenes, and people are still interested in that anyway.
Right. And is it the same, like, what about for photographs? How do you have like a system for how you cull?
Oh, that's a really interesting one because I'm really ruthless, and for me it has to happen on the day of the shoot after each look. Like that's if the picture doesn't grab me immediately after I've shot it, it's gone. So that's one. So while the next makeup look is being done, like today was an example for that, I will already pre-pick the images. I use Capture One. I will green the images that I like, immediately go through again in red and then ultimately blue. So I'm left with like 3 a look or something. And then what I will do, I will put them up next to each other, take a screenshot of it and look at them on my phone. And only if they jump out in small is it a picture that I will then retouch. Because for me, because of social media, it can't just look impressive in a big format on my computer screen. It has to work in little. And so that's my criteria. I do little like selection and then check it on my phone. And that's how I ultimately choose it.
That's such a good point. So I had an interview with Tyler Jacobson, who's a commercial illustrator. And he does like the Dungeons and Dragons, like book covers and all of that kind of stuff. And that was one of the things he really pointed out specifically for working on magic cards, but all entirely is it needs to look good in thumbnail. Like I need to see that the tones are strong and that the composition is right when it's tiny, because that's really a good way to proof if you nailed the composition and the interest. So I love that you mentioned that, because that's kind of an interesting thing that it goes across genres that way.
Yeah.
So do you Do you have a specific look that you go for with your work in general? Like I know for Lindsay Adler, she has like a few buzzwords, right? And if they fit those buzzwords, that's how she shoots and chooses. Do you have a philosophy for how you go about that?
I don't consciously have one, but people have so many times now said, "Oh, I knew that was one of your pictures." So I kind of started thinking about, well, what is it? Like there must be something that attracts me to picking an image over another. And the things that I would be known for, I guess, in a picture would be motion. So I usually more often than not have moving hair, that sort of stuff. Or like just yesterday, I put a picture out where there was dripping water. I want that drama because beauty is so close up. I need some action there. Like, and obviously the only thing that can move is the hair and like an expression that looks like it was in motion, that sort of stuff. So that's one criteria. Catch lights in the eyes is the next. If a picture isn't, if there is no catch lights, I think it's not engaging with the viewer, so that picture will never be chosen. Let me have a think there. I don't know. It's just personal taste. I look at something, and if everything works for the team members involved, say hair, makeup, pose, it's quite. I guess it's quite dramatic. You know, my facial expressions are usually quite.
Yeah.
I usually have hands in pictures as well. Someone pointed that out. I'm quite into putting focus on mouth and hands. Someone said that to me. Do we need to talk about this? Is that like, do I need to see a therapist? But yeah, I think I can't really put my finger on it. There's some drama in the facial expression, I think. I don't know.
I think so too. I feel like I also think that I always feel like your light is very dramatic. You know what I mean? Like it's always like got a good punch to it, I feel like.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like today I put a softbox up and 2 minutes later I put a hard light right in front of it.
Right, like no. This is not what I wanted. It's so funny how those preferences, and Felix made a really good point yesterday. He talked about how the quantity of work over time kind of breeds a look by itself. Like you just find yourself doing things that you prefer over time. And it definitely seems to be an accurate way to look at it, because your work definitely has a really clear visual style. Like it's very obviously your work, I think.
It makes me really happy to hear that. Like I can't put a recipe on it. It's just something that makes me,
Yeah. No, yeah, I love that.
I think even if I like the rare occasions where I'm using soft light, like I still try and, there needs to be some sort of drama there. It's never just sweet.
Right. What do you know maybe what it is that you like about the drama or like the punchiness of harder light? What draws you to it?
Yeah, I feel like I just love the face as a canvas, and with hard light I can just, you see the shadows in, like especially the highlights of a good makeup. You can bring that out so much more than with soft light. I think the work of a makeup artist is just framed that little bit better and in more detail with that sort of lighting, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely something about the quality of the skin and the skin texture that just looks so much fresher, I feel like, when you have those spectral highlights in the skin.
It's funny, the picture you have up right now is actually a client shoot. So this is probably as behaved and clean as you would get for one of my images, but it's still, the style is still creeping in. It's still, yes, you can still see the elements of it.
Yeah, agreed. So let me go out of here really quickly. Alistair is here. Hi, Alistair. He says, hi, balloons. Oh, and Ken is here as well. Hi, Ken. Welcome, everybody. If you guys have any questions for Tina, make sure you ask them so that we can get to them during the course of the conversation. So you are making these outstanding photographs, and how do you begin selling them? I mean, how do you begin selling yourself? How do you go from I'm building my portfolio, I want to be a beauty photographer, to I'm doing international campaigns for brands?
So I always most of us, I think, have something they're passionate about, and that doesn't pay the bills. And that was very obvious for me very early on. So I picked up a camera. I didn't really quite know what beauty was at the time. It just sort of happened that I was like always in someone's face and always transforming them with makeup. And so it became obvious to me that it was beauty that I was attracted to. However, I had to pay my rent. So I started applying to commercial fashion jobs, as in e-com, the stuff that no one ever like sees me do. But at the same time, so I applied for that. I was just quite naive with it. I would apply for, hey, I've heard of this brand. Oh yeah, ASOS, Amazon. Let's ask them if I can shoot for them. And I didn't know what on earth I was doing, but they booked me. So I think while I was making money that way, I could also develop my passion on the side, because now I was exposed to real models for the first time and could stop shooting, friends and family. And I was like, yeah, hey, what are you doing at the weekend? So while I was doing this job that I wasn't at all passionate about, I could still develop my beauty on the side. And I've kind of always kept those two separate. There was the money earner and there was the passion. And I have to be that blunt with people. If you want to make money in beauty, it took me a long time. That took me nearly a decade to make money from it. And so I was just sitting impatiently, developing my portfolio, shaping it in a way I wanted it to go, testing every free minute I had, and on the side just go and earn money with ecom that no one knows about. But I made very sure that every day I ticked both boxes. If I would go and shoot ecom for 8 hours, I would come home and make plans for beauty tests, and always I would never neglect the passion of the job. And one reason why I do that, why I keep passion and money earner separate, is because I want beauty to remain my passion. I want it to never be like, oh, I have to go, I have to make money, I have to find clients. I think you see that on my Instagram as well, or like generally on my social. All those is what I'm passionate about. I'm not there to please a client. They come, they do come and book you through Instagram and stuff like that. But I'm not desperate to find beauty work. I do what I love, and people find you for it. So the campaigns that you mentioned earlier, so massive clients like Max Factor contacted me through Instagram, through seeing my passion work. And they, I didn't have to show one clean shot after another. They knew from the creative work that I was capable of creating a campaign that would suit their brand.
Right. So do you find, I know for a lot of us, and I don't really know if this is a myth, this idea, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? And if you just chase your passion and you follow your passion, then everything will be great. But like you said, so many times when you take your passion and turn it into a job, it starts feeling like a job, and it doesn't feel as fun or as fulfilling anymore. So do you ever feel any pressure to, like, if your beauty work is successful and clients are looking for that, do you hesitate, like, I don't want to go down the path of turning this into my main gig? Does it stop you from?
I mean, just before lockdown hit, it was sort of a situation where it was like, right, okay, the beauty work is a lot better paid, so I can afford to do one of these a month or every 2 months. Whereas with fashion, I would have to work every day to make the same money. So it had come to a point where I was like trying to decide, if I give this up completely now, could I then make sure that I'm booked for a beauty campaign every month and just do what I love? Sadly, lockdown hit and kind of never really finished thinking about that plan.
Yeah.
But I would be a little bit worried, to be completely honest. I want to, as you said, I don't want it to become repetitive and a thing that I have to do. I don't want to do a test that I'm passionate about and think, oh, but maybe I should be contacting clients right now because I haven't booked one this month yet. So it's quite nice to have the stable, guaranteed fashion work so that you can just relax your brain and be creative and do what you love that way.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point, because it's very easy I don't think everybody is suited to do the same thing always, you know?
Yeah.
I talked to Pauline Goyard on the show a couple of months ago, and that's one of the things that is really helps her career actually be stable, is that she spreads herself out amongst many things. So she does graphic design, and she does her fine artwork, and she does portraiture. So for her, it's able to, like, one thing never takes so much of her attention that it starts to feel like work or like too much or whatever. And I very much feel with myself like that is something that I'm drawn to as well. But then the problem becomes, how do you find the drive to maintain the passion part when so much of your energy goes into paying the bills?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. The one thing that I would like to explore is that commercial fashion, which is something I don't think anyone is really passionate about that. It is just a money earner, but I'm trying to see if photography needs to be the money earner for me. That's the one thing I'm trying to explore right now, where passion, beauty, that can be literally just keep going as I am now. But it would be nice if the drawings could be the money earner. So I do that, and it doesn't stress me out as much as ecom. Something completely different in photography. So now, if that would work out for me, then every time I pick the camera up, I'm doing something I'm passionate about from this point onward. So that would be the dream.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Do you think, how do you maintain, so you're doing ecom or whatever else to earn your income? Do you ever feel like you don't want to pick up your camera for beauty? I mean, there's definitely times when, like, if I'm shooting a really, really lot, I'm like, I don't even want to see my camera right now. I don't want to have anything to do with it. So how do you maintain the passion to keep shooting then, like when so much of your energy goes into the other stuff?
Um, I have to say, I've never not been passionate to pick up the camera for beauty ever since I started doing it. But I do have to force myself to take breaks. That's, yeah, there's degrees of passion. Let's call it that. Like if you are 30 days in shooting every day beauty, yeah, I think the results are not going to be as brilliant. You're not going to have that spark anymore. So I discovered that a few years ago, where I was just like constantly on it, constantly every day. And I felt guilty for putting the camera down. And now I've realized that taking a break, taking a mental and physical rest is an investment into your photography future. You need those downtimes to then have your brain going at full capacity the next time you pick the camera up again. But you need to force yourself for those breaks, honestly, or else creative burnout every other week.
Yeah, no, that does happen. I found something similar for myself, but it almost inserts itself. Like I'm not yet got to the point where I'm like, okay, I recognize that I need to step away. It's like all of a sudden, like, no, I just run and dive into something completely different. Like I'm going to go finish my book, or I'm going to build a thing or make a dress or something. Like it's almost like that sneaks in and subconsciously warns me, no, 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 you need to step away for a while.
Yeah.
But I really would like to get to a point where I recognize in myself, okay, it is time now to step away for a little bit and let yourself recharge. Do you have a way that you notice that for yourself?
Um, I quite, like a couple of weeks ago, I was just sitting on the couch, and in the morning I kind of went, right, later I'm going to do 3 retouches. It came to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, I can't do this. Honestly, I cannot pick that pen up right now. So it hits me quite obvious, where I'm like, nah, I'm just not inspired right now. I can't do this, and I'm going to have to stop. And I think I saw one of your Facebook statuses a few weeks ago where you said something similar, where it's like, it has to be 100% all the time, or else you're guilty. The best thing to do, honestly, is just, I deliberately procrastinate, but it has to be deliberate. It can't just be a point of like, I'm just going to play computer games for 5 days now. Not like that. It has to be, okay, I'm going to allow myself now to just switch off. My phone's off, my computer's off. I'm going to play Fallout or whatever, like for 2 hours, like, and then after that, I will get back to it and I will do that retouch. So it has to be quite structured, or else you're just going to go off onto this like lazy week.
No, that's a really good point. And I definitely do. I get to the point where I'm like, I can't, I'm going to go play Zelda. And
Oh
then
my
it could
God.
easily turn into days. And I'm like, I just want to, I mean, I have kids, so I never really quite get the luxury of just like not doing things. But you do kind of start to get to that place where you just want to, I just want my brain to not be active. I want to not think
Yeah.
for a while.
And it's so people underestimate how important it is, rather than, for example, me sitting there and forcing myself to do that retouch and do it shit. Like,
Right.
there's no point to that. There's no, I'm resenting it, I'm burning out. To actually take that break is so valuable to what comes, the work that we produce after that. So it isn't being lazy. It is actually like a much better idea than pushing through in some cases.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you ever find that some of your strongest work comes after a good break?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then especially I've had times in the past where I would hit a barrier that hard that I just went, screw that, I'm going away, I'm going to visit my parents for the weekend. And while I'm sitting there and just relaxing and I'm in a change of scenery is incredibly important for my motivation. I'm then coming up with plans like, oh, I'm going to do this when I come back. And that wouldn't have happened if I would have just put my head down and ignored the signs. So yeah, I think people need to be aware of what inspires them. Like I just said, like a change of scenery sometimes makes all the difference. Force yourself to do one, you come back so refreshed and ready for more. So yeah, it is a really good point. Taking a break will then result in the best work, really.
Yeah, it is crazy how that happens. And I don't know, maybe if our minds just need a little while to decompress, or if that's Felix mentioned something yesterday about just changing something. You know, when you're stuck and you just can't move forward and you don't know what it is, start changing things. And I feel like a change of scenery can be, it seems like the biggest thing that you can change that has the broadest effect, I guess, because it breaks all of your normal habits and your normal routines. So you can't subconsciously rely on those things to give yourself that sense of stability anymore, it seems like.
Yeah, and it can be really simple. It sounds like a big change, but say, for example, having to do 70 retouches, which I'm not particularly excited about, but for me to take my laptop and do these in a cafe somewhere else, just sit and like do them, maybe, you know, like there's like office spaces, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Just that bit of change of scenery is, I've made the effort to leave the house with my laptop. I will now sit and make sure that that stuff gets done, and I get this different sense of motivation just from sitting on a different desk, for example.
Yeah, agreed. Even sometimes, which is really weird, I find that in the morning, if I wake up and then I put on workout clothes, the whole rest of my day, I eat better in general. I feel more motivated in general just because I feel like I'm supposed to be moving. And it's crazy how those little changes can completely alter your mindset for the rest of the day and how you approach stuff.
Definitely, definitely. You're actually inspiring me right now because I do need to eat better.
I feel like all of us feel like that right now.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I know I've definitely gained my quarantine 15 for sure.
I definitely have. But I mean, I'm not even blaming myself because the only thing that made me happy during lockdown was
Yeah.
cooking and eating. And that's just
Right?
all we could
Right?
do.
I know. Yeah, if I had all the macarons, I would just be the happiest person. I feel when I start to get stressed out, I'm like, I need some M&Ms or something. Just
Definitely,
somebody
definitely.
give me some sugar.
I deserve this.
Yeah, it does. We're about to, we got a pull-up bar and some like stretchy bands and other things like to use in our garage. So hopefully this will be the start, because I usually stay fit by climbing, and we now are 30 minutes from the closest climbing gym, which means an hour both ways plus workout time, and then other people are there and I'm like, no, I'm gonna get the COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a rough one, but I do feel like moving my body makes a really big difference in how I approach everything else.
Mm-hmm. So true, so true. That's actually, I attended this kind of motivational seminar thing once. It's one of the Americans. It's Tony Robbins.
Ah.
I'm going to share some insight. He was saying if you start to feel like you're lacking energy, like you sit for hours in front of your computer, just getting up and actively getting your body going is actually the key to get your mind going at the same time. So he has like a trampoline next to his desk, and every time he feels himself like dropping, just jump on that thing for 5 minutes and come back. Like you've got the oxygen going, your brain going again. Like it's actually such a good idea. I've completely forgotten about it.
I'm glad we brought it up then, because I wish I had the space for a trampoline here, because that would be way better than running up and down my stairs, which is what I do. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, I'm like this close to getting myself an Apple Watch so I can set reminders on there to get up off my butt, because I have my desk can stand, but I forget to do it, and my posture is really shit. I'm just like this all the time.
I just sat up straight as you said that. Like
I know. I was like, oh, fix that real quick. Yep. It's really crazy how all of these things that don't seem like they could be related to creation, you know, art or photography or anything, are so inherently created because or connected because of you. Like everything is coming out of your body and your mind. And if you don't take care of that stuff, then
a visitor. She just came voluntarily, Nosy.
Oh, she's the prettiest. Oh, I miss having kitties. My oldest guy has he's allergic, so.
Oh no.
I know, it is the worst. I'm like, when are you gonna move out?
Yeah, I mean, come on. He's probably like 6 years old and you're like, I mean, it's time to.
I know, right? Like, come on. I'm ready. No, he's 17, so he's close. Oh. Like, we're squeeging up on there. We have our puppies, which are the best, but also I miss having a little purring fur ball on me.
I have to say, I mean, we talked age just before we started recording, but you do not look old enough to have a 17.
I did start young. I had him when I was 20, so I did start young. It's nice though, because he's a rad person, so it's cool to like know him as an adult while I'm still young enough to like, you know, do fun things.
That's cool. Yeah. You can still be a cool mom. You're still like, you know.
yeah. Or the nerd mom. I'm wearing my like Miners of Khazad-dûm shirt that Kate got me. So you know, represent my nerdy side. Which is actually kind of brings up an interesting thing. And you can tell me if this has ever happened to you, but I definitely found as a kid, I was ashamed, or not ashamed, but I wanted to be cool, right? Like I wanted to be cool and liked and everything. And I felt like all this nerdy stuff, like, yeah, I just read this book about quantum theory or whatever, you know, like, no. And I was really hesitant to like accept that part of myself. But I found that once I did, and once I was like, yes, nerd flag is flying, I became so much happier as a human being. And even as a creator, like the things I started making were much more in line, I think, with who I am. Mm-hmm. Have you ever gone through anything like that?
Yeah. Oh, I love that topic so much, because when you just said that, it just reminds me of myself. I was painfully shy in school. I was one of the uncool kids, 100%. Didn't find it easy to make friends. I had a couple of good friends, but as an example, like if my parents and I would go off, play with the other kids, I'm like, hell no, I will not talk to other people. I will be on like attached to your leg for the next 2 weeks. I found it really hard. I just found it. I just expected people to not accept me without even trying. I don't know what it stemmed from. I mean, for example, so I was really sick as a kid, and I could never do PE in school. So I was never into like team sports, so maybe the bonding wasn't there. I don't have siblings, so again, maybe, you know, like it was just easier to be by yourself. I think my art was similar in the beginning, where I was kind of like, nah, like people probably hate this, so I'm not really going to show it. And then I did an exercise where I was digging really deep and trying to understand where my passions come from, how I grew up, what shaped me, and understanding that, and embracing it and deliberately using that to create art. That literally changed my life. When I was trying to, so I always mention this, I grew up in Germany, but I actually grew up in East Germany. So I was born and raised inside the wall, you know, so communist East Germany, which was incredibly gray. You weren't allowed to express your opinion, that sort of stuff. So I feel like I now understand where my urge comes from to create from minimal things as well, where I'm fascinated with stuff like mold, with creatures that can thrive in dire conditions, that sort of stuff. Whereas in the past I would have been like, oh, I'm nuts, let's not push that idea. I'm now like, no, this is why I'm fascinated by that. Here's my story. Please have a look. I'm not shy anymore. And with that came the realization that I'm creating art to be happy and not to please everyone. And from that point onward, I was off. But yeah, I've got a similar story as you. Where it was kind of like, I'm not, oh, I'll suck forever. To like, if you don't like me, it's fine. I like it. So yeah.
I love that. What brought on that realization? Was there anything specifically that kind of led you to that point?
I was forced to do it. I wasn't really aware of how useful it would be. I signed up for a little online masterclass. That was, I think it was called Mastered or something like that. And it was like the first year that I did that. And the mentor was my favorite photographer, who is Nick Knight. So I was like, yeah, let's see how this goes. And one of the tasks that we were set was doing just that, to digging into what makes you tick and using that to create a set of images. And it took me probably 3-4 weeks to sit and think about it close. And some people might struggle with that. You might sit and be like, oh yeah, actually, I think this shaped me a little bit in a negative way, but just push through that and embrace it. That is part of your upbringing. Maybe, there was experiences that you had to go through. Instead of blaming them, just embrace them for that. These experiences can now be translated into expressing yourself in your art. Yeah.
Right. That's fantastic. Is there anything that you can distill from that, or like give as a suggestion to the viewers or to other artists as ways that maybe they can try to start doing the same thing?
Get it out of you. Yeah, I mean, to start with, I'm just saying, do that exercise. I don't know, I think people just need to dig deeper into what fascinates them. And I always say to walk around with your eyes open, but very critically. Instead of just going around and saying, I'm using beauty photography as an example. There's so many images I see now where people use flowers, and it's almost lazy. I think flowers is an obviously beautiful thing, and you're like, yeah, why are you using flowers? Because they're beautiful. But you should dig deeper and understand why you think they're beautiful. What is it you're attracted to? One way to narrow the things down that inspire you, as I said, I'm aware of things that inspire me, and sometimes I don't know why, so I take a picture of it. I will save it on my phone and I'll get back to it later. And then after maybe 20 pictures, you see a pattern emerge. You might go, I've taken pictures of this lamp in this restaurant, this wallpaper. Or actually, I think there's a recurring theme of patterns here that I'm into. So don't even ask why you're drawn to something, just register that you are. And after a while, you'll be able to connect the dots to what it actually is that you're drawn to. And you will move on from, hey, I like flowers. We all like flowers. That's that's bullshit. It's like, we all do. It's lazy. But you might be like, hey, I actually love movement in nature. Maybe it could be insects, the way like wings of a bumblebee are, the tiny little details of that sort of stuff. You if you start digging deeper and really understand what it is that drives you and apply that to your art, I think, yeah, that's just start walking around with your eyes more open from now on.
That's really good advice. I mean, it seems, when you say it, it seems so simple, right? Like, just pay attention, but it's actually such a powerful thing that so many of us never actually take the time to do. I mean, I have even what you just said, I actually do this when we're walking, my husband and I, take the dog or something. We go on a big circuit, and every now and then there will be something where I'm like, ooh, and I have to take a picture of that. And it could be light coming through the tree and hitting really interesting bark patterns, or the way that cactuses get backlit because they glow when light comes from behind them, or whatever. I will find certain things. And then I never really stopped to think about why those specific things catch me, what it is about them. And when you mention flowers, like 8 people could love flowers, and one loves them because they're delicate, and the other one loves them because they're sturdy and they will grow in places despite, adverse conditions, or and so like asking yourself why and taking that time to just sit with that and keep going backwards. until there's no more whys, right? Until you get to the point where the why stops. And it seems like that's really an ideal place to be for figuring out what it is that is motivating you to do that stuff.
Yeah. I love the example you just gave, because if you went down that road and you went, oh, actually it is the sturdiness that I love, you might move yourself away from, for example, using roses like everyone does. You will start using thistles. You will start using cabbage, like you know what I mean? You, because you have now discovered this, you will start looking into, hey, what are the sturdiest plants? How do they survive? How, you know, and it isn't just the obvious anymore that you're going to start using. And that's how we create diverse images. That's how we move away from, oh, everything's been done before, let's just do it again. No, your art is you. You're expressing yourself. And if you really dig into you, your art will be unique.
I love that. I think that's so important, especially because there are different reasons for doing photography or creating visual images, right? Sometimes it is just a job. Like people will have a portrait studio because it is a thing that makes money, and the photography is just a way to make money, which is totally fine. But then there's other ones of us who we have something we want to say. And I feel like that's why people get so frustrated, because they're like, I'm stuck and I don't know how to get where I'm trying to go, and I can't move forward, but I don't know why. And maybe it really is that. Maybe it's just that they haven't taken the time to figure out why it is that they want to do what they're doing and what they're trying to say or express to the world.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And you saying that now makes me realize as well that even the sharing of said art is such an important part of it, where there's enough people out there that go, hey, I'm not showing my work. Likes on Instagram aren't going to pay the bills for me. But the part where you're sharing and letting your followers or your friends see what you had on your mind, and like expressing yourself to those and getting some feedback in the forms of likes or comments, it's not vanity. This is our way of communicating. That's just, that's what makes us artists. We put something out there and we would like to get something back for it.
Yeah, for sure. And even if all we're getting back is that communication, right? Of knowing somebody else they felt it, the avatar of what I felt still communicated to somebody else. Like they've been there, they felt that thing. It's such a powerful experience.
Definitely.
Let's get to a couple questions and remind people. So we are coming up on time, guys. There haven't been very many questions out there. So you guys better start asking questions if you want Tina to answer them before we have to close. And Dave Schick is here. Hi, Dave. And he says, question for Tina. What was the photo shoot that got you noticed by brands?
Oh my God, I can't pin one down. I know that there was a big stir over a shoot and I got a lot of attention. It was maybe 2 years ago. And it was the one where the model is licking a paintbrush. I don't know if you know which one I'm referring to, but just because of the audacity that I made a model lick a brush, that created such a hype that I think I'll forever be remembered for that picture. And I think, maybe pictures like that got the engagement going that then might have helped brands to see me. I don't know a specific one that would have gotten me booked for work, but that one was the most outrageous one in terms of getting people talking.
What do you think it was about that image that struck people so much?
It was a mix of it not having been done before, and people love getting involved is the other thing. And so many people went, how can you do that? That's poisonous. How can you do it? No, don't worry. That was actually food safe paint. It just looked like it because it was in a paintbrush, but the communication it sparked was probably what it was, where people would, because it was a little bit outrageous, people would then share it onto their story and create such, a reach on social media, because it was like, oh my God, did you see
this one? Yeah.
It's that's one of them. That's definitely it. And for us, it was kind of like, it was an afterthought to have the lick, but for people it was like, Jesus, what did I just see? Like, it was worth the share and the discussion. Yeah, I think that would be one of the ones I'm going to be remembered for.
That's really interesting. I always am curious about what motivates people to share something, or to be interested in something, or to remain interested in something. you know, how much of it is new stuff and how much of it is, I remember somebody told me at one point when I was first shooting some beauty photography, somebody was like, you can't really do that because it's too sexy. Like you can't have models like do stuff with their mouth because it's too sexy. And and people don't want that. And I never bothered even to look into that. You know what I mean? Or to try to see whether or not that was true or whether it was something to explore. I was just like, oh, well, the person who knows more than me said no. So I never even thought about pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, that exact thing happened to me where it was, I had the opinion, I don't know where from, and I always said to models, use your hands, but not near your mouth because that's too sexy. Because you're thinking of like, you know, like sucking a thumb kind of thing.
Right.
And now I've got such an arsenal now of poses. I can like, oh, do like this, like, and that's all not sexy. It's awkward, right? So that myth that like, oh, don't put hands near mouth, like we just smashed that years ago. So yeah, it's kind of like, as you said, someone said that to you and you just left it at that. But people just, if someone says you can't do something, I would at least like question it. That's probably a good tip for people going forward, where it's like, there's the other thing as well, where it's like, there's something with hands on face because it looks like she's got a headache. Just play around with that.
Oh, when people do this thing.
Yeah, like this is totally back now, where people are doing that kind of like, just play with it. You know, there's no rules. That's one massive thing to remember. People, I had so many in the beginning, it was like, hey, you didn't study photography. You know, stop now. You're not going to make it anywhere. So it just, you know, when people tell you can't do something, this is art. This is you expressing yourself. You can do as you please.
Right. And then you never know how people are going to respond to that. I mean, you obviously that struck enough of a chord with people that they started paying attention, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if you want to do a thing, try the thing.
Try the thing.
Yeah, and see how it goes. Dave would like to know, if you were stuck with one lens forever, what would you choose?
100 mil macro, 100%, because that lens is on my camera body 90% of the time anyway. Today was one of the first times that I was like, oh, maybe I should shoot a bit more full body. So 24-70 came back on, but that 100 mil macro is just glued to me pretty much. So that would be my choice. It's just like, it's the most versatile for portrait and macro. I don't need to change lenses between a portrait crop and like going right in for the eye. So it's the best, most versatile lens for me.
Right. It's always good when you can have gear that suits you so well that you just don't have to mess with it at that point. Because I always thought I need to have all these lenses. Like I need to have all the things so that I have all the options. But the truth is, if I have a 24-70, I probably will never use another lens. Because generally I don't need to. I mean, the other one, the 70-200, there's definitely times when I want the compression that offers. Usually in environmental settings, that's when I want it, because I want somebody to feel like they're really swallowed up by their environment. But aside from that, I wouldn't need more. Yeah.
I always say that people, I had lenses before. Everyone was raving about the 85 mil, and so I got it, and then I never put it on. It's a brilliant lens, but for me, it didn't offer the versatility of the 100 mil. So there's no point of that thing gathering dust, and so I sold it.
Right.
I don't need to have a massive arsenal.
True. You just need what works the best.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of times when people ask those questions, like, what lens should I get? Or what, which camera body should I get? And I'm like, well, why though? Like, why do you need the thing? What is it that you're trying to do? Because there's a really good chance if you're asking that question, you probably shouldn't be upgrading. Like if you don't know what you need yet, then that's probably a good sign that you need more time with the gear that you have so that you can go, okay, the problem is I don't have enough space. Like, I need more frame. Okay, so then a full frame is probably what you need. Or I'm too close to people all the time. I need to create some distance. You start to recognize what you need once you get enough experience with what you have.
Exactly. It's personal preference. It's kind of like people could say, what do you use? I say, okay, it's 100 mil macro. For some people, they might want the distance to the model. So it's kind of, personal preference as well. It's not a hard and fast rule for everyone. So I usually say to people, and that's what I did in the beginning, hire them, like hire a few lenses for a few test shoots, see how you get on with it. There you go.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I like that you bring up the fact that, for you, for the way you shoot, for the visuals you like, and the way that you work on set, that is the lens that works for you.
Yeah.
And so you can't just go and I just want to get everything Tina has because I want my work to look like Tina's work, but you're not Tina. You're not going to approach things the way that she does. You need to figure out what works for the work you want to create and the way that you work on set. And it could be that the 85 is the perfect thing for you, or the 70 to 200, or, who knows? I just want to grab people sometimes and be like, be your own artist. Don't try to be the other photographers, because you're going to fail, because nobody is going to replace Eric Almas as Eric Almas. Nobody is going to replace Nick Knight as Nick Knight. He's the only Nick Knight there is. Your job is just to be the best you that there is.
That's it. That's so true. That is so true. And just instead of trying to, we learn from each other, we get inspired by each other. Of course. But people shouldn't forget what their creative vision was. Instead of going, what's the best light for beauty? Well, what's the best light for your creative vision is the question. So I can shoot beauty with anything, with super hard light, with super soft light. It depends
with sunlight, right?
Yeah. It depends on what I'm trying to, what I'm trying to create, what suits my vision. So I could say to people, I do often use a beauty dish because I just generally like the light that produces. But what do you want? What is it? Why does a picture that Laura J shoots of like a beauty image, why is it soft? Why is it a lot less edgy than mine? It's because of her creative personal vision.
Right.
And then you need to find your own.
Agreed. No, that's the most important part. And I think all of us who do this to create, and not just to earn a living, but because we need to be making things, I think we will always be unsatisfied if all we ever do is try to make what other people are making.
Definitely.
So we are up on our hour mark, guys. Hi, Jay. Jay is here. If you have any last minute questions for Tina, get those in really quick, because I'm going to ask her the final question. So you have just a couple minutes. So do that right now if you want her to be able to answer those before we go. So Tina, the final question I always like to close with on this show is, what is your why? Why creation as a job?
Oh, wow, you just hit me. I don't know. I think we all kind of want to leave something behind. I want to create an image that I want to create to inspire people, either to do something similar or to get on their own path to express themselves through art, I think. I think I find a bigger why in the education side of things. So I think having taught workshops and seminars and stuff like that, that's where I really found my why. When people afterwards feel inspired and buzzing to go home and create, that's where I really found I want to be as good as I can be to inspire people to do the same thing. There's no point in reaching a certain level of what we call success and then just sit on it. The sharing of that and the sharing of the knowledge and experience that you have gathered is my why, I think.
I love that. So that's wonderful. I find this is my favorite thing, because these questions always result in such different answers for people. Everything from, because it's fun and that's all I need, to I want to inspire and communicate with people, to, it's so amazing to see us all doing this one broad thing. We're all creating, right? The whole goal is just to make a thing. And we have such different reasons for it. And I love that. So Jay says, okay, Jay.
To give my cat a better life was the question.
That's the important part right there. Jay says, Tina, who gives the best hugs in the history of ever?
Definitely Jay and Dobby, but I feel like Jay's new Frenchie that's joining the family. So my be
Oh my
arriving.
gosh. I can't wait to see that fur baby. I'm so excited. It's not even my dog.
Same. I'm already following this dog on Instagram on both of my accounts, and he doesn't even have it yet.
Right? Like I'm there. I'm there. Make the account, Jay, and you've got at least 2 followers for sure. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everybody who was here. Dave and Ken and Alistair and Savvy and Jay. And I appreciate you guys being here so much. If you found this content useful, please like, subscribe, and share, because Tina shared so much great wisdom today that I feel like a lot of artists could benefit from. And if we don't tell them that these videos are out there, they're not going to know to come here and learn from everything that she just shared with us. So please do that. Also, next week, the lovely, the talented, the wonderful Hannah Dare Walker is going to be here. I'm going to ask her all the questions about how she makes the amazing wearable art that she makes. So make sure you are here for that. Tina, where can everybody find you online?
The easiest is probably Instagram right now, which is @Tina_Eisen. We also have a community of Facebook on Facebook that is really helpful, answering each other's questions, helping each other out. So if you're looking to get into beauty or, share your work there, the group on Facebook is called Beauty with Tina Eisen. And we are just, I think, 4,500 people now, all helping each other all over the place. So it's a great place to join, I would say.
Yes, agreed. And you have a contest going on. So tell us about that really quickly.
Yes, I will. So I have contacted a ton of massive brands and gathered at least $1,000 worth of prizes right now. So I'm running a competition until the end of the year now. All the details will be on the Facebook page, but basically you can win new lights, new software, new retouching tablet, like the whole lot. Because I just wanted to give something back. So you share your work with me, and one of you will walk home with a massive bag full of prizes.
Yay! All right, guys. So that is on the Beauty with Tina Eisen Facebook group. So make sure you go there. I will leave the link to all of Tina's goodies in the description. So make sure you go follow her and go join the group and get in on that contest if that's something that you want to do. Tina, thank you so much, lovely lady.
I really enjoyed this.
Yes, this was a great conversation. Guys, if you have anybody else you want to see, make sure that you let me know in the comments who should be on the show. Who do you want to see me talk to? Who do you guys want to ask questions of? So do that. And in the meantime, go show Tina some love. And until next Tuesday, bye.
Bye.